Yeah, Vijay, go ahead, please.
So in the PAT call, I mentioned I would be demonstrating these two features. One is the line report along with SNOMED and ICD code, and another one is the export patient data using the FHIR standard. So these are the two features that we have prioritized for the current phase and actively working on it. In our last phase, we have delivered the count report in which for a given parent SNOMED code, let's say malaria, you can get literally the count of all the dependents of malaria and classified in terms of the gender and so on. That was the last delivery that we have made with SNOMED integration. So now we have extended that to support line report with similar strategy. So now you can search for different so let's say for different children descendants of asthma, you can configure to have line report and against each of the row. So basically what is the difference is now for each of the row, we are also able to tell okay, this diagnosis, this specific diagnosis is a hierarchy of a particular SNOMED code. And also we are providing more details like what is the corresponding SNOMED code and the SNOMED description as well. So, and on top of that, there was a requirement to also share the ICD codes for the given diagnosis. So the challenge that we have was, it was not really a one-to-one mapping. As you can see here in the OpenMRS, you may, for a given diagnosis concept, you may not directly get a one-to-one mapping or even a one-to-many mapping. And it is actually, what we realized was that more of it is determined by context around it, say age and gender. So we have an application that was built by SNOMED, which explains that concept. So as you can see here, osteomalacia due to vitamin D deficiency is a particular disorder. And for that disorder, this is the SNOMED code 717. This 4004 is the given SNOMED code, and you find that it is not always a one-to-one mapping. There are certain rules which come into play to arrive at a corresponding ICD10 code. So as you can see here, for this given SNOMED code 717, if I refresh the map, you will find that you get a rule comprising of some map group, map priority, and you may get multiple ICD codes for the same SNOMED code, like E55 is one ICD code, or M83 is another ICD code, or the other one, the third one. And you have to evaluate this rule based on the context, which is nothing but the age and gender. So there are some rules in a certain encrypted format, in a encoded format, I would say, in the proprietary format of, so they have given some rules around here. So this says that, okay, if the given age is less than 18 years, then this is the ICD code, or if the given age is more than 65 years, this is the ICD code. Otherwise, if they don't fall into either of these category, then the ICD code is M83.89. So this is the way we used to derive, SNOMED used to derive the ICD codes. Now, as part of the requirement, we also need to support ICD codes against the corresponding SNOMED code. That was the requirement. So the way that we have developed was to, though we emulate this logic, but we actually built this as an extension framework, as a plugin. Meaning to say that you don't literally need to have that logic hardwired as part of the Bahmni. You can have third-party plugins which follows a certain contract, and you can literally bring them as part of your class path, and you can show an integrated report. So that is the approach that we have taken for ICD10 extension. So as you can see here, we have reports. So these are typical line reports as I've shown you. And on the same line report, now we are extending to support ICD10 codes. Let's take Peritronis here. If I run now, you will notice that, okay, this given patient has been diagnosed with pelvic peritronics, which actually is a descendant of the peritronic. So generally a SNOMED line report displays all the descendants of a given parent code. So this comes as part of the report. And in addition to the SNOMED code, we are also displaying the ICD10 codes, which is N73.5. Let's see how it is derived. So let me take this SNOMED code from here. Okay. And as you can see, the gender is female and the age is somewhere around 37 or 38. So if I apply the same thing here, and the result is N73.5. If I apply the same thing here in this application, okay, you will find that there are 3 rules. You have to evaluate 3 rules in a certain order. And as you can see, right, for a female with an age of 35, N73.5 is the correct ICD code and not K65 or anything else. So we can validate this from here. It is a female and 35 years, N73.5. And it is not necessarily true that you will have a one-to-one mapping. You can have a one-to-many mapping as well. For example, if you look at the next report, for the pneumonia, as you can see here, right, you have 2 codes. It's a one-to-many mapping. And these are derived using complex rules, which are ordered by map groups. So let's take this example. You have pneumonia with AIDS for this SNOMED code, and the gender is female, and the date of birth is around 35 or 37. So let me copy this SNOMED code. Let me apply that for female and 35 years of age. And the selected SNOMED codes are B20 and J70. Next, apply that. Okay. So as you can see here, we have 2 selections in the green, as a green icon, right? So B20 and J70, that's what we are displaying as part of the report. And they are determined using this complex rule. Like now we have 2 map groups. So the idea is basically for every map group, you end up displaying 1 ICD code. Now, since we are having 2 map groups, we have 2 ICD code, B20 and J70. And that is what we demonstrated. Okay. Any questions so far on the ICD10?
Do you want to explain why is this mapping and getting this ICD10 codes important?
Yeah. This mapping, because as I said, if you look at this existing concepts, it is not very straightforward to derive an ICD code for a given SNOMED code. It's not really a one-to-one mapping, or it is not, again, one-to-many mapping without any context. You need to also pass in an extra context, like an age and gender, in order to derive the corresponding ICD code. So there comes the complex. Because if you see here, right, I don't, it's a mapping, but I cannot pass age and gender over here to find out what is the right ICD code. And again, we have a narrower than, broader than, those kind of relationships, which is through which it is difficult to derive these ICD codes. And since it is determined by age and gender, we are relying upon a certain logic, as we can see here, right, that are based on map group, map priority, and certain rules in a certain format. I mean, evaluate them and arrive at the right ICD codes. So this is the challenge that we had when we wanted to derive the ICD-10 codes. I'm sure.
Also, the purpose which was provided was, these reports would be further used by, to export it, to share with WHO, to for their own analysis on like medical or health condition of the patients or the population.
Right.
So
Exactly. So that's one reason. Obviously, for many countries, essentially follows a particular way of reporting. So that's where it is will be one usage aspect. The other aspect is actually in terms of the insurance, right? It is not so easy. All insurance primarily, at least in India, like in many other countries, happens based on the either the disease classification or like say similarly in terms of the procedure codes and what it has been done. So that is also another important aspect that we are doing, why this is being done.
Right.
Other question, Vijay, how comprehensive is this mapping tool? Does it have mapping to all sorts of like say SNOMED diagnosis disorder to ICD-10?
yeah, so this particular tool which is exposed by SNOMED, they do the exhaustive mapping of SNOMED codes against the ICD-10 codes. And so what we have done is we have extended, I mean, as a plugin, we have extended the Bahmni reports to integrate with this with the service offered by SNOMED, wherein I can pass in the SNOMED code and also the context like age and gender against every row, as you can see here, against every row, and make a call to this service, SNOMED service, and get, I mean, actually, I don't get directly the ICD-10 codes, rather I would get rules. Now, we iterate on the rules and we transform the rules into a kind of a executable expression, and then we find out what is the right ICD-10 code, and we render them back into the report. So while we are doing this, we also ensure that it is purely configurable, so that literally, if you tomorrow you want to add one more third-party extension plugin, you would be able to do that. So as you can see, this column, last column, ICD-10, is not really hardwired. I mean, it ideally can be as a separate third-party jar as well. And through reflection, we try to hook up the right implementation and then avail that third-party service, get the response, and enrich the existing report data set function.
Okay. Is this service that you are right now, obviously you are calling a SNOMED service, is it open source? Is it like in a proprietary? Is it open to all?
Yeah, I mean, the service that we are currently leveraging is open to all. So I mean, it is wherein you just give all these input parameters and it will return you there is a response. It is currently open, Anshu.
Okay, can you put, if you can put the details as well? Another part is this, you said like, there is a possibility of this service being replaced by some other third party system, right?
Right. I mean, what I said was like, you can actually use this extension framework to add additional services, which really was not part of Bahmni. Say, for example, imagine you have a row having a basically a PAN number or something, and through which you can get a credit score, something like that. So credit score is offered by a third-party service. So you can hook up a third-party service by passing the contextual information, get the additional data, and you can enrich the existing report all without tightly integrating. It's all loosely coupled as plugin.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Vijay.
Thanks, Anshu. And just to show you how the configuration looks like, it would be as simple as this. As you can see, you can define an array of extension, and these extensions need not be part of your Bahmni. It can be a third-party extension, and they can you can, as long as they are available in your class path, you can hook it up, and you can avail that service. So now we can see that there is one extension, but I have, for demonstration purpose, I have given an example where you have more than one extension in an array format. So it will be piped. In a piped format, it will go and enrich the existing report. So this thing, this example I have, I'm demonstrating in my local as follows, like this. So ICD10 code is from extension 1. And again, that is again piped into another say extension number 2. Just for demonstration purpose, it just returns a random number. So in that way, you can hook up multiple extensions and enrich your existing report. So this is the work that we have done on the ICD10 feature. Yeah. Any questions around this feature? Okay. Okay, if not, I can go to the next feature. The next feature that we wanted to showcase was the exporting patient data using FHIR format. So
can we do this next time? Maybe in the next part call. In the interest of time, I think Ritesh also has a small item to showcase. This one will lead to long conversation. The FHIR stuff.
sure, Gurpreet, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'll stop share.
Yeah. Any questions for Vijay from others? I think this is a significant, like, work that is happening. And if you haven't seen, like, in the past SNOMED work, for example, on our YouTube channel, there is there is a playlist. You can do this. Ketan, if you can share the link, please. So there are lots of, like, interesting and important work happening with the SNOMED integration, along with like, support within Bahmni capabilities, also leveraging clinical decision support, etc. Okay. Ritesh, what do you?
Thanks, Anshu. Thanks, Gurpreet. So let me share my screen.
1 second, I'm just stopping the recording.
Sure.